Hey everybody, in this video I'll be playing the Orb scenario, which will be the first battle for my Frostgrave 2nd edition campaign. Hey everybody, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, the channel that plays tabletop games using toy bricks and blocks and discusses the rules and strategies that build the foundation for those games. I'm excited to be getting some Warbands on the table to start filming some Frostgrave battles again. Today, I'm playing the first new scenario found in the Frostgrave 2nd edition book, which is the Orb. But before I get started, I'm going to introduce you to the two wizards that will be appearing in this battle, tell you what spells they've selected, which soldiers they've hired, explain the playstyles and goals of each wizard. Then I'll show you the battlefield, explain the scenario, and start the game. So let's get to the bricks and blocks of Frostgrave 2nd edition's The Orb scenario. My first wizard and apprentice I've named after some enemy characters from the PlayStation 1's Final Fantasy Tactics. So we've got Velius the Summoner and his apprentice Celia. Velius trained under a more peaceful wizard in his youth, but he always longed for power. He left his previous master after finding a book of summoning shadow warriors from another realm. After years of perfecting his summoning ability, he now enters Frostgrave old and bitter, ready to gain power for himself and take out his anger on all who stand in his way. Along his journey, he met Celia, a young woman that embodied the same lust for power he'd had at her age, and has taken her along that she might fulfill the desires he was held back from. Their summoner spells are Leap, Plague of Insects, and Summon Demon. Their aligned spells are Wall, Spell Eater, and Animal Companion from the Elementalist, Necromancer, and Witch schools, and their neutral spells are Reveal a Secret and Heal from the Soothsayer and Thaumaturge schools. Their main strategy is to use Plague of Insects to debuff their opponents, then use Leap to launch Bear Companions at their enemies. With the Summon Demon spell, they'll be summoning Shadow Imps, Shadow Warriors, or Greater Shadow Warriors to add units to their team. Heal and Wall are great spells. Spell Eater can be very useful in some situations, and Reveal a Secret can help improve what they find in their treasures. For soldiers, they've hired a Ranger, a Marksman, and an Infantryman, and just brought along 5 thugs for the adventure. Velius' primary goal is going to be destroying his opponent, with treasure collecting being his secondary goal. My next wizard is a Sigilist, and since I like to dork out my kids by intentionally mispronouncing things, this is Frappuccino de la Mocha, named after my beverage of choice for when I'm up late recording videos. And his apprentice, Ryder, named so because he kind of looks like Flynn Rider from the movie Tangled. Over his lifetime, Frappuccino used his magic abilities of trickery and deception to amass great wealth for himself, until a more cunning wizard stole his riches and left him with nothing. With no other choice, Frappuccino has hired an apprentice who is eager to find riches and fame, and has come to Frostgrave hoping to find enough treasure to live out his days comfortably. Frappuccino has never been a violent man, and hopes he can achieve his goals without bloodshed, but success in Frostgrave may force him to change his views on violence. Their Sigilist spells are Explosive Rune, Push, and Right Scroll. Their aligned spells are Telekinesis, Fool's Gold, and Heal from the Enchanter, Illusionist, and Thaumaturge schools. And their neutral spells are Time Walk and Mind Control from the Chronomancer and Soothsayer schools. Their strategy is based around spell combos. I wanted to try the new Fool's Gold, and I thought it would be neat to pair that with Telekinesis to really mess with treasure tokens, and then use Explosive Ruin with its new 4-inch range to make minefields to hover treasure past. Empowering Mind Control and using Heal to restore a spellcaster's health is a solid strategy that was around in the 1st edition. And Time Walk is a difficult spell to cast, so I'm planning to use Right Scroll to give Frappuccino 1 or 2 easy castings of it each game to really help my other combos shine. And the Push spell is there just to give him an easy to cast toolboxy spell. For soldiers, they've hired a Ranger, a Treasure Hunter, and a Man-at-Arms, and they have 2 thugs and 3 thieves. Frappuccino's goal is to focus on trying to secure 3 of the 4 normal treasure tokens using manipulation spells to move them closer and fast soldiers to get to the tokens quickly, and they might not even bother with the central treasure token. In the 1st edition, the players mutually decided on 2 player edges and 2 neutral edges, which made it easy to have my table set up before filming. Now, no neutral sides are selected ahead of time, So the winner of the initial roll-off can choose any of the 4 sides as their deployment zone, and the other player is stuck with the opposing side. Since I plan to film mostly from one side of the table with my warband on my left and my right, I'll make that roll now so that if I need to turn my board, I can do that before orienting players to my table setup. I've assigned a die to each of the wizards and their warbands. I plan to use the same die throughout the entire campaign, but if one of these dice just always rolls high or low, then I might switch it up. But at least for this battle, these will be the dice assigned to these wizards. Let's see who gets to deploy first. 12 to 14, so Frappuccino gets to go first. My board is all set up. In the middle, we have the orb, which is kind of the goal of the scenario. Figures have to get over to that and attack it to open it up to reveal the centralized treasure token. There are 4 imps that are placed. These are flying imps. We've got 1 there, 2, 3 there, and 4. They're placed 6 inches from the orb, making a square around it essentially. The players have placed the treasure tokens. We have 1 down there, 1 right there, 1 up on that catwalk, and we have another one up here on that little cliff. And with the treasure tokens, Frappuccino intentionally placed his treasures up high so that he can use Telekinesis to try to bring it to his table edge. And since he won the roll-off for the deployment, he's going to choose to start on this table edge. Next, we'll do out-of-game spells. Frappuccino and Ryder have their only out-of-game spell is Right Scroll, which is an after-game spell, so they have nothing to cast. But for Velius and Celia, they have a couple spells. First, they're going to attempt Animal Companion. Velius will cast this. He needs a 14. He got it. And Celia needs a 14 with a -2, and she did not get it. With Velius' successful casting, he will summon a bear. And for that, I'm using my giant cats, which I call bear cats because they're quite large compared to a human. So this is a bear that will be joining his warband in place of one of his thugs. And now they will attempt to cast Reveal Secret. Velius on a 16. He got it. And Celia with a -2 to that. That'd be a 14, so she fails. So 1 successful casting of Reveal Secret. My warbands are set up on each side here. A few things to note since my board is undersized. I've changed a few of the measurements for deployment stuff. Normally they can be 3 inches from the edge. I've changed that to 1.5 inches. Normally they have to be 6 inches from a corner, but I'm changing that to 5 inches. Treasure tokens usually have to be 9 inches from the table edge, but since I've got a shortened deployment area, I'm just saying they have to be 8 inches, which gives me kind of a 16-inch square in the middle where all of the treasure tokens would be placed. And anywhere where I have ramps or ladders, I'm saying that they can be climbed at normal speed. For Frappuccino and his team, he's set up here with a thief, and over here he has his ranger, a thug, and another thief. And then over here we have Ryder the apprentice with their treasure hunter, a thief, their man-at-arms, and another thug. Over here on the other side of the board, we have Velius the wizard with his summoned bearcat, a thug, their marksman. There's another thug hanging out there, and over there is another thug. And then down here we have the apprentice Celia with another thug, their infantryman, and their ranger. We'll start out with initiative, so we have Velius and Frappuccino. Alright, looks like Velius is going first. We'll have Velius start out by activating with the bearcat, the marksman, and the thug, and he'll send the marksman up to right over here. And from there, the marksman will fire an arrow at that imp. The marksman is a shoot +2. The imp is usually +1, but the marksman moved, so +2 against +2. The shot is a 12 against a 15, so the arrow, the bolt misses. I like to turn my crossbows around backwards when they're empty, so we'll do that. And then this thug is going to run up, and he can get on a double move right in front of this imp, and then the imp will snap into combat with him. The bearcat will now double move up here and can get into combat with the imp on a double move. Then Velius will run up to right here And he will cast Summon Demon. He casts this on a 12, a 5. So he fails by 7. He'll let that fail. He takes 1 point of damage. Frappuccino over here will activate by himself, and he is going to use Telekinesis to look right through this opening over to that treasure over there to try to move it closer to him. He cast this on a 12, and he got a 12, so success. He's able to move that 6 inches, so here we have the measuring device, so he can move it right into there. And now that that's moved, he's just going to run over here to this corner, to right there, where he can see this treasure token up on that catwalk. Celia over here will activate with this Thug and with this Infantryman, and the Infantryman and Thug will both move over here. Double moves will get them right there. Then Celia will run up kind of behind him here on a single move, and she will try to cast Summon Demon. On a 12 with a -2, that is a 12, so she summons an imp. So this shadow imp will appear right next to her. Over here to Rider, he will activate with this Thief, and he will run up over here. He can get to right there on a single move, which lets him just see that treasure token down there, and he will attempt to cast Telekinesis on it. On a 12 with a -2, 17, that works. 6 inches, we'll put it right over here by this ladder. Then the Thief will run over here right in front of Rider to act as a human shield if needed. For the soldier phase, starting over here with the summoners, we will have this ranger do a double move up to there. And this newly summoned shadow imp will run around this way and end right there. Then over to here, they've got 2 thugs. They're both going to start heading up towards this centralized treasure token. Both of them on double moves can get up to here. For Frappuccino's turn, we'll start out by having this Thief right here run into here to collect this treasure that was moved. And when he picks that up, we'll roll to see if a monster appears. On a 10+, one shows up. Nope. Then over here, this ranger will run up here to this corner. And from right there, he'll peek around and fire an arrow at this imp. There is 1 intervening terrain, and he moved. So the shot is a +2 against a +3 with the adjustments. That is an 8 to an 8, so nothing happens. Next, this Thief will, on a double move, run through here and end his movement right there. And this Thug here will double move up here by the Ranger to create a trap for that imp if it comes towards them. And for their last remaining soldiers, their man-at-arms will run over here, right there. The treasure hunter will also come over here, as will this Thug. For the creature phase, the book does say that the monsters with the highest current health will activate first, but doesn't say what happens when multiple monsters have the same health. So to give the monsters an advantage, I'm going to have the monsters not in combat move first so that they can potentially gang up and receive support bonuses in their attacks. First, I'll have this imp activate. He cannot see any of these guys because of this wall, but he can see this bear cat down here, so he will run that way. And he will attack. No support is given because it's 2 versus 2 there. I've decided to use a separate die for the monsters, so this imp is a +1 against the Bearcat's +4. Bearcat gets 15 and deals +2 damage. So that is a total of 7 damage because the imp has 10 armor but only 6 health, so it is defeated. Next, I'll activate this imp. I rolled for a random direction off camera, and it ended up coming over here on a 6-inch move. And since it cannot see these figures or any other figures, its turn is over. Monsters only make a single random move. They'll never make 2 random moves. Next, this imp will run over here to engage my ranger that shot at him. When he does that, my thug will snap into combat. I'm used to playing the Perilous Dark rules where monsters will never intentionally engage more than one enemy, but in the 2nd edition rules that is not a stipulation, so it is being teamed up on by my guys here. It'll end up attacking my thug because my thug has fewer health, so the imp is a +1 against my thug's +4 with support. The imp got 17 to my 9, so that is 7 damage on my thug, and he is wounded. And lastly, this imp over here will attack my thug. The thug has support, so he's +4 against +1. That is a 13. That deals 3 damage to that imp, and he will stay in combat. Next round, I'll roll for initiative. Alright, and Frappuccino just barely gets that. Frappuccino is over here hanging out, and he will activate by himself because no one's around him, and he is going to cast Telekinesis on that treasure because he can see that from where he is. Casting on a 12. 3. He is going to empower that for 9. He's going to move that 6 inches this way, just floating in the air, and then he will drop it right down next to that thief. And he's at 5 health, so he's not quite wounded, and he's going to run over here. For Velius, he will activate with the Marksman, the Thug, and the Bearcat. And first he will have the Thug attack the Imp. +4 with support against +1. He got an 8 against 7, so no damage. Then the Bearcat, who's also there, will attack. He's got a +6 against +1. 23 against 1. That is a dead Imp. So they've got experience points for another Imp. Then the Bearcat will use its 2nd action to run down here on a single move. Then the Marksman will run up here by this tree and use his 2nd action to reload his crossbow. The Thug will double move up here in front of the Bearcat. Then Velius is going to run up here on a single move, and he will cast Leap on the Bearcat. Casting on an 8, 19, that is successful. He will leap the Bearcat all the way up here, 10 inches, which will put it right up here by this treasure token. For Ryder's turn, he will activate by himself, and he's going to attempt Telekinesis on this treasure. Casting on a 12 with a -2. That's an 11. He will empower that for 1 to make that successful. And he'll move that treasure token kind of right over behind him. Right there. And end his turn there. With Frappuccino's team monopolizing these treasure tokens over here, Velius does want to make sure they get at least 1 treasure token, so Celia is going to cast Leap on this Thug right here. Casting on an 8. Got it. And she is going to leap him way up here by this. That does end his turn for the rest of the turn, so he won't get to activate, but he's at least up there by that treasure token. Then she will run up here in front of her ranger. For the soldier phase, for Frappuccino's team, we're going to start with this combat back here. We'll have the ranger attack that imp. He's got support, so he's a +4 against +1. 7 to 7, so nobody wins that. Then I'll have the Thug attack. The Thug is wounded, so he's got a -2 to all his rolls. So he's going to be a +2 because of support against +1. He got 18 against 7. So that is 8 points of damage to that imp, and he defeats it. A little payback for that injury he received. Since the Thug is wounded, his turn is over, but we'll have this thief over here pick up this treasure. See if a monster appears on a 10+. Yes. Looking at our table here, let's see what level of monster this is. A 17, that is a level 2 encounter, And we've got 9, which is an ice spider. We'll see which edge it pops up on. We've got 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, and 16 through 20. 20. All right, so this little guy shows up right down there. This treasure-carrying thief can then do a half movement to right here. I'll now have this thief run over here and pick up this treasure. Roll for a monster on a 10 plus. All right, another monster appears. Let's see which level it is. 5, that's a level 1, and it is a 4, which is a zombie. And the zombie will show up on edge number, the same one as the spider. All right, so we got this zombie that's going to show up next to the spider. And then I will have this thug come over here to be a human shield. My man-at-arms will run over here. It's right there. And then my treasure hunter will double move over here next to Frappuccino. And I almost forgot about this thief carrying this treasure. He can move 5 1/4 inches on a double move, so he can make it off the board. Securing the first treasure token. For Velius' soldiers, we'll start with having this ranger. He'll come over here, climb this ladder, and on his double move, can get to right there. This shadow imp will double move through here past the bearcat. Can't get quite close enough to snap into combat though on its 9-inch move. This infantryman will run through here and on a double move gets right up behind this bearcat. Next, over here to the middle of the battlefield, we'll have this thug here run up to get into contact with this orb. Then the other thug will run up and in 6 inches, 6 movement units, he can get right into combat with it, so he can attack. The rule for adding support says when you're attacking a target figure. I don't know if the orb counts as a figure, so I'm going to play where they do not give support bonuses. I might be wrong there. But that's how I'll play it in this game, so the orb is a +3 fight against my thug's +2. Yeah, right, well the thug just got a critical hit against that and only needed to deal 1 point of damage against armor 18, so it breaks that open. It breaks open and inside is the central treasure token. Next is the creature phase. We'll start with the imp, and he randomly rolled to run off into this corner over here. Next up is this zombie that also has 6 health. It can see this thug up here, so it will move, double move to right there, 6 total inches. The ice spider can also see that thug, and it can double move 9 inches, which will put it about halfway up this, so we'll put him there for the moment. For round 3 initiative, all right, Frappuccino is going again. Frappuccino will start out by trying to cast heal on himself. He casts on a 10, 7. He'll empower that by 3 and heal himself for basically a total of 2 from where he was. He will then run over here. Velius will activate by himself and run up here by this thug. Then he will attempt to cast Leap on the bearcat. Casting on an 8. Got it. And he will leap the bearcat over all these guys right into combat with this thief. And actually figures can't be leapt into combat, so it'll just be over here close enough to snap into combat if one of these guys moves. Then for Rider, he will activate with all of these soldiers here, and he'll start by having this thug come over to engage the bearcat. So the bearcat won't be free to engage other soldiers. Then this thief will run off the board with this secured treasure. Then we will have Rider cast Mind Control on that infantryman. He casts this on a 16 with a -2, but we'll see what happens. 9, that's 7, so you'd have to empower that for 9, which would practically kill him. So he will just let that fail, take a point of damage. He will run off the board, as will this man-at-arms. Celia doesn't really have a whole lot she can do here, so she'll just kind of run over here. And she's going to attempt to cast a wall right behind this thug to block line of sight. Cast on a 12. Failure by 10. Doesn't really have anything to lose. She'll go ahead and empower that for 10. Well, that looks kind of ridiculous. It wasn't until recently that I realized that walls actually have no significant thickness. They're just 3 inches tall by 6 inches wide. And I also realized I don't really even need that because this thug should activate before those creatures, but oh well, they got 10 experience points. For the soldier phase, this treasure hunter will run off the board. Over here, this ranger will run up next to Frappuccino. This treasure carrying thief will run over here on a double move. And this wounded thug will run over here on a single move, because that's all he can do. For Velius's turn, this thug will pick up that treasure. We'll see if a monster spawns on a 10+. It does. I don't think it's really going to matter at this point, but let's see what it is. We've got level 1 encounter. Number 5, which is 2 zombies, which will show up on edge number... that same edge again. Then the thug will move down from there. I'll move most of the way down, then drop the last part when he's just... He can move most of the way down, then drop without taking any damage. Over here to the middle of the board, we'll have this thug here pick up that treasure. We'll see if a monster appears. Nope. Then he's going to take his treasure this way. 3 inches, and this thug will follow him. This shadow imp here will run over and attack the thug with support. Imp is +3 against +2. Tie, 13 each, so 3 damage apiece. The imp is now wounded, I suppose. The bear cat was leapt, so he cannot move. But we'll have this ranger run across all these catwalks to here on a double move. We'll have this infantryman run over here on a double move. This thug will run over here to provide some cover if needed. Well, I'd forgotten about this imp. He can actually see these guys, so he will move 9 inches this way. And he doesn't have to, he has no climbing penalties, so he can get all the way up to here. This zombie will randomly move right into this corner. This zombie walks into that corner, that edge, and stays, and this one walks 4 inches this way. And these are zombies, I just don't have any other zombie figures. And this spider will run this way and run into this terrain. They stop if they hit any terrain, so he ends there. And that's the end of the round. We'll roll initiative. All right, 9 to 19. Velius is going first. He's just going to cast heal on Celia. Casting on a 12. He'll empower that for 2. He'll run down here. Frappuccino will activate with this whole team, and he's just going to go ahead and cast heal on himself. Casting on a 10. 4. He's at 7. He's going to leave the board anyway, so he'll empower that for 6, which will leave him at 6, but he gains 10 experience points. Then this whole team will run off the board with this treasure. Over here, Celia will activate with this thug. The thug is going to double move this way. Then Celia will cast Leap on him. Casting on 8 with a -2. Well, that fails. She takes 1 point of damage. And she will just run over here by that thug. Now we'll come over here to this melee. This is the only thing that really matters that's going on the board right now, because that's the only figure of that warband left. We're going to have this Infantryman run over, and he'll attack with double support. That puts him at a +7 against +2. And he loses 16. He takes 5 points of damage. Can't really push him out of combat because it's the edge of the board. The Bearcat will attack with +8 total. 20 to 19. That is 12 points of damage. That thug dies. And that was the only figure from either warband to actually fall in combat, now that I think about it. Alright, that battle is over. Since these treasure tokens here were being carried by those soldiers, they are automatically acquired by Velius' team. For the after-game activities, starting with Velius' team, all of their warband members survive the battle, so no survival rolls need to be made. So next I'm going to establish their base. It doesn't actually say in the rulebook when they do this, but this seems like a fitting time to do it. They're going to move into a tower, which will give them a +2 bonus to their casting rolls for Reveal Secret. The only out-of-game spells that Velius has are Animal Companion and Reveal Secret, and these are both cast before the game, so no after-game spells for them. The next step in the after-game sequence is to award experience points, and one thing I want to point out that's easy to miss is that with failed spells, you actually only gain experience points for those if you actually suffer damage from failing them. So you have to fail a spell by 5 or more points to gain experience from those. So Velius gains 40 experience points for participating in the battle. They had no failed spells that didn't cause them damage, so none there. They had 2 failed spells that caused damage for 10. They successfully cast 6 spells for 60. They retrieved 2 treasure tokens for 80. They defeated 2 of those imps for 10. They broke open the orb for 25 experience, and so for a total they got 225 experience points. They're going to use that to increase their fight stat by 1 and to lower the casting number of Summon Demon. Next, they're going to roll to see what they found in these treasures. We'll start with the central treasure token. So they get to roll for that, and if they don't like the result, they can re-roll once, but have to take the second result. So let's see what they get on their first result. A 15. That is a Grimoire and 20 gold crowns. They're going to go ahead and re-roll that. And they got an 11. And an 11 is a magic item. With their regular treasure token, since they successfully cast Reveal Secret at the start, for this they actually get to make 2 rolls and choose their favorite of the 2. So this treasure is actually better than the central treasure in this instance. So a 12 or a 16. A 12 is 20 gold crowns and a magic item, and a 16 is 40 gold crowns and a grimoire. They'll take the 20 gold crowns and another magic item. So they have 2 magic items to roll up, a 10 and a 15, and that is going to give them a Ring of Teleportation and Gloves of Casting, 2 very good items. Velius will keep the Gloves of Casting and equip those on himself to help him summon Shadow Warriors. But as good as the Ring of Teleportation is, the 150 gold crowns for selling it sounds really good right now, so he'll sell that, and then combined with the 20 other gold crowns that he'd found, he has a total of 170 gold crowns to spend. The first thing he'll purchase, which is a great purchase for any warband, is Carrier Pigeons for 50 gold crowns, and this allows them to pay 10 gold crowns less for all future soldier hires. And that leaves them with 120 gold crowns, and since Rangers only cost 115 for them now, they will use 115 to buy a bow and a quiver for this thug and turn him into a Ranger. So the results for that battle went pretty well for Velius' team. They were able to summon a bear during that battle. They now have 1 more ranged soldier, and Velius was able to find some Gloves of Casting. He also passed 2 levels, and they've got 5 gold crowns and 25 experience points banked. But despite that, they weren't able to really achieve their goal of destroying their enemy. There was hardly any combat that happened. Their ranged soldiers weren't able to do much, really anything, and Velius wasn't able to cast Plague of Insects, which was supposed to be a big part of his strategy. So he and Celia will enter the next battle ready to smash some soldiers. For Frappuccino and Ryder and their warband, they only had 1 soldier that fell in combat, and it's a lowly thug, but we'll roll to see how he fared. And he got a 5, so he is badly wounded. So chances are he won't be coming back with the warband in the next battle. For his base, Frappuccino is going to set up his headquarters in an old treasury to help him try to reestablish some of his former financial glory. At the end of every battle, he gets to roll a die, and he'll possibly gain some gold crowns or maybe even a treasure. One thing the rulebook doesn't specify is whether you get to make this roll immediately after establishing a base. Since it doesn't say I can't, I'm going to say that anything that has after game effects will come into effect immediately. So we're going to go ahead and roll a d20 to see what he finds. A 17. Well, that's pretty cool because a 17 or an 18 gives him 100 gold crowns. And actually, he gets to add the 17 to the 100 gold crowns, so 117 gold crowns. And Frappuccino does have 1 after game spell, which is Right Scroll, so he will cast this on a 12. 5 is a failure, and Ryder on a 12 with a -2. A 3, even worse failure. So no scrolls of Time Walk from this battle. For experience points, Frappuccino gains 40 experience points for being in the battle. Ryder failed to cast Mind Control and took some damage from that, so they get 5 experience there. They had no failed spells that didn't cause damage. They successfully cast 6 spells for 60. They retrieved 3 treasure tokens for 120 and defeated 1 imp for 5 experience points, giving them a total of 230 experience points for the battle. And to keep with Frappuccino's non-violent nature, he'll use those 2 levels to increase their health by 1 and also lower the casting number of heal down to 9. And they found those 3 regular treasures, so we'll see what they found there. 8, 9, and 15. They found a magic weapon and armor, 20 gold crowns and a magic weapon and armor, and they found 20 gold crowns and a grimoire. The 2 magical weapons they found, an 11 and a 13. 11 is a dagger of +1 fight, and a 13 is a dagger of damage +2. For the grimoire they found, the green die will be a cross and the blue die will be down. So that is 4 across and 18 down, which is a grimoire of enchant weapon. So that is an aligned spell, so he might learn that eventually. So to give Frappuccino some early gold crowns, he's going to go ahead and sell this dagger of +2 damage to give his warband 200 gold crowns. So combining that with the 40 gold crowns from their treasure tokens and the 117 from their treasury, they have a total of 357 gold crowns, and they will spend 50 of those to also install some carrier pigeon cages on their base. And then Frappuccino will spend 90 gold crowns to hire a demon hunter. This is a soldier from the Forgotten Packs expansion. And this soldier has some additional things that can make it cost more, mostly if you're a summoner or know some summoning spells. But normally they cost 100, but its cost is reduced by 10 because of the carrier pigeons. And so this soldier will join their warband. And since this thug was badly wounded during that battle, we'll say that he actually spent some time doing some training, got himself some new equipment, and learned from his little battle that he had with that shadow warrior, and he has upgraded himself to a demon hunter. I think that looks like somebody that wants to fight some demons. And to show off some of the other soldiers that can be found in the supplemental books, they're also going to hire a crow master. These soldiers are kind of interesting. You have to also, as well as hiring them, you have to build a crow roost on your base for 100 gold crowns. And then for each crow roost, you can have one crowmaster in your warband. So it'll be 100 for the roost, and then 100 gold crowns, or in this case 90 because I've got carrier pigeons, to hire a crowmaster. And this soldier is found in the Thaw of the Lich Lord expansion. For the crowmaster, I will remove this soldier. I think that outfit's a little more fitting, and we'll call him more of a falcon master. But the thing that's interesting with this soldier is the soldier itself is fairly weak with its stats, but he comes with a bird that can also fly around, so he's kind of 2 weak soldiers for the price and space of 1. Still just counts as 1 soldier. So after hiring those 2 soldiers, that will leave them with 27 gold crowns. They'll give their magical dagger of +1 fight to their lady treasure hunter, and Frappuccino has 30 experience points that he will be banking to save for another battle. Frappuccino was able to do what he wanted to do in that battle. He was able to escape with 3 treasure tokens and not end up having to deal with much combat, and came out with a good amount of experience points and some treasures. So he is ready for his next trip into the Frozen City. That battle was a little strange. Most games of Frostgrave involve a lot more combat and end with a lot more bloodshed. So we'll see what happens in the future for Frappuccino if maybe he has a battle where he has trouble casting the Telekinesis spell and has to rely on some other tactics. But in my next battle, which will be the Ice Storm scenario, I'm sure it will feature more combat or at least more carnage, as the 2 warbands I'll be using have playstyles that should lead to more confrontation. But before you watch that, you'll want to check out the video about the thematic warband I've created, which will be showing up in that battle. And I'll be linking that video in the description below once it's released. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to click like, add a comment, or subscribe so you can keep up with all the content that I'm releasing. And with that, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and I'll see you on the next video.